then great. I'd also say if you've got a couple of areas in your house that you can chop and change and work from that are slightly different, again, that's quite good, because then that actually helps, you know, your body's then moving slightly, so you're not stuck in the exact same position. So even if it is in a different room, although the setup will be very similar, there will be slight differences, and it just means that you're just not stuck in that same position all day.
So
there's also,
let's wake up quickly. So the
screen at eye level.
Yeah.
So you need to pop your laptop or computer on a book if you need to. Wrists, you'd want to be resting on a towel or something, and then just so your fingers can literally just type, so you're not holding, or you're not like this. Elbows at a right angle, so they're at table level, and then knees at a right angle.
And the small of your back.
And then the main thing will be a towel, a pillow, or something, just to, so if you find now, if you sit up, you'll feel that curve in your back. And for me now, I can fit my hand behind my back where the chair doesn't support it. And that's where I would need any, you know, just a towel to roll up to just support that curve in the lower back.
Sorry, I might have missed it, Hannah, but did you mention, what about sitting on a Swiss ball?
So yes, so yes, they're great. I wouldn't say do it all day, because it's a lot of effort. The main thing you want to make sure is that your table, or what you're working from, is at an appropriate height, so you're not then reaching up, because the Swiss balls can be a bit lower. So it's finding that level that then you're still, and if you can, still support your wrist, so you're not having to hold yourself, you know. So although you're moving your back and your spine kind of from your elbow onwards, that needs to be supported still, otherwise you'll then create problems in your wrists and elbows, and things like that. So that would be the main thing, but Swiss balls are really good. Yeah, and then even just altering your position slightly, and also a good thing, if you're working at the desk, pop your drink a bit further away and pop your pen a bit further away, so you're constantly reaching and just slightly moving your body. So it's a good bit of it's a bit annoying, but it's a bit of a game. So you prop things around your desk, so your phone's over there and your kind of pen's over there, so you're reaching around a little bit and just moving slightly more. So yeah, does that kind of make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Hannah, can I just quickly ask? Because I've had proper desk setups and stuff at workplaces in the past, but I still find a naturally slouch, however good the setup is. It's kind of like, is it just a case of you just got to keep reminding yourself to sort of sit back up, or is there any sort of...
You're quite tall, aren't you, as well? So I mean, it's really difficult. Another thing is, rather than thinking about sitting up straight, it's thinking about incorporating your core as well. So when you're sat there, think about tensing your core a little bit and doing things like that, because that can really help.
Okay.
Bringing the laptop a bit closer will naturally make you stand off it a little bit. So if you're finding at home you're slouching, if you can bring the screen a little bit closer, even just at times, because you don't want to strain your eyes, but it instantly makes you back off, and it will make you sit up slightly more.
Okay, that sounds good.
Long term, you can do things like, you know, like the sports tape. You can get things like that, and you can actually use it across your back to help correct your posture, so that you're not moving forward. Finding it is a occurring thing rather than at the moment.
Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I'll try the thing about the screen. Thanks. Yeah.
Standing up as well, no? Like maybe when you make a phone call and that's to stand up and go around.
Kind of like I was saying with the different rooms, you could also have, you know, if you can set up that somewhere you can actually work standing up for a little bit, that's always really good as well. So even if you just do it for half an hour, if you can find somewhere where you can have your laptop or your computer high enough that you can stand up for 5 or 10, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, even half an hour to mix it up. Stand up desk working now is quite a popular thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions regarding this?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that does. Thanks.
Okay. So what I was going to kind of go on to next is kind of identifying the problems. So kind of, it's really hard because everyone's different and everyone experiences pain differently, and without us kind of seeing it in that way. But it's important to kind of know the difference between a good pain and a bad pain. and especially at this moment. So, you know, pain that's, or problems that, like, we need to stop and rest that, or I do need help, or it's, you know, fine. So the main kind of thing is when problems are arising, the type of pain, you know, is it a sharp pain? Is it a dull pain? Is it a new pain? Things like that are really important. Sharp pains tend to be, you know, they tend to come on quite quickly. And when things like that happen, you know, you need to step back and rest it. Is it an ache? And actually, you know, what's the reason it's come on for? So has it come on quite suddenly and when you're doing something at a time, or has it come on gradually over time? And what were you doing? And it's again kind of listening to your body and knowing your body. So if it's a new pain you haven't had before, then rest, you know, no word about it, rest completely. Just give it time, give it 24 hours. I would always say if things don't improve in 24 hours, that's when I kind of say, right, you need to maybe ask for some help or get some advice, because that's when our body should naturally start to kind of heal itself. You know, what were you doing at the time? So if you're aching, but you actually went for a run that morning, then that's the kind of pain you think, well, that's quite a normal response. Let's give it a bit of time and stretch out and recover. But if it's, you know, you were out doing some gardening and suddenly had a sharp pain, it's then thinking, right, why has that happened? And actually, is there something else going on? So you need to think about that and think about kind of the swelling and the bruising and things. And they're also really important things to consider. If you do ask for help, they're the kind of things that people want to know. So it's kind of recording that and remembering that, especially at this time when we can't get hands on and see things. That's what therapists will need to know to try and paint a picture and work out what's going on. So yeah, but I would say at the moment, if things aren't feeling better, or if you don't feel happy about yourself within 24 hours, then definitely contact someone and then they can help you personally. Yeah, so that's kind of then leading on to kind of the treatment. So I talked about kind of bruising and swelling. So a massive, or one of the main self-treatments we can do ourselves is heat and ice. There's a lot of confusion about it. A lot of people don't actually understand when to use heat and when to use ice. So I thought it'd be quite important to go through. Ice is kind of to help with inflammation. It constricts our blood vessels and it stops the inflammation from happening at site. So ice is something you should use straight away when you've injured yourself, twisted your ankle, you know, if your back's suddenly gone or something like that, you want to get ice on it to prevent that swelling from really building up. And it just helps to flush out all the kind of extra blood vessels and clear out that area. So ice is the key thing to use in the first 24 hours. You know, frozen peas, ice cubes, make sure you wrap them up in a tea towel, because the amount of times I see people with ice burns is ridiculous. People don't realize. So do wrap something around the ice, because it's such a common thing that people seem to still do. But ice is a really good one. After 24 hours, that's when you want to use heat. So if things are getting stiff or achy, that's when heat can be really good. So if you've done quite, you know, if you've done a heavy run and the next day you're quite achy, that's when heat can help. It just helps get the blood vessels kind of pumping again and getting fresh blood and fresh nutrients into that area of that muscle to then just flush it out and help. So does that make sense? So ice is your kind of go-to if you feel like you've done something straight away, twisted your ankle, slipped, you know, something's come on quite immediate. That's when I would say use ice for this moment. But just wrap it up. I'd really recommend not Googling your symptoms. Don't Google things.
Yeah.
Google things, you're going to die no matter what. That is
so true.
We've all done it. I still do it, and even now I'm like, but just don't Google your symptoms. You know, asking us, there's so many, you know, not just myself, but everyone else. None of us can treat at the moment, so we're sat at home wanting to help people still. If it is something new you've never had before, just give someone an email, give someone a text. We're happy to help. But yeah, don't Google them. And similarly, also be really careful what advice people give you that aren't professional, so friends or family. You know, if they said, oh, I've had something like that, this is what I did, just be really careful, because we all experience things differently. And somebody might have had a bad back and they've given you an exercise, but actually if you've herniated your disc or something, and that exercise they've given you will make it 10 times worse. So each exercise somebody's been given is suitable for them. It might not be suitable for you. So just be really careful with, you know, what people are saying, and where they've kind of got their information from. Yeah, so that's kind of the other thing. A lot of people's first thoughts when they injure themselves is stretch it. Again, just listen to your body and be careful. A lot of times stretching really will help, but at the same time, if you've injured yourself whilst you're out running, and you might have actually torn your muscle, stretching won't help it. So again, it's going back to how it's happened. So, you know, what were you doing at the time, and has it happened before? Stretching can be a really, really, really good thing, but you've just got to be careful with it. And if you do try and stretch something out, if it hurts, going back to that no pain, no gain, stop. You know, there's that kind of good and bad pain when it comes to stretching. You've got that kind of, you can really feel that stretch and it feels quite good, great. But if it's actually an uncomfortable stretch, stop. That's your body saying, this is hurting, this isn't making me feel better. And again, you know, this is a time we really need to listen to our bodies, to prevent things getting worse. Foam rollers and things like that, a lot of people ask about. Foam rollers, tennis balls, they can be really, really good. They have actually been proven not to enhance your kind of sporting performance and ability, but they are good to help relieve muscles and tension and things like that. The latest research is you should foam roll 2 to 3 times on that muscle for about 30 seconds each. So, you know, if you're working on your quads, you'd roll over it for 30 seconds 2 to 3 times, and you'd want to do it 3 to 4 times a week to make it beneficial. So that's a really good thing to actually prevent problems from occurring. So if you've done a workout and your muscles are feeling tight, rather than ignoring it and going and running the next day, actually get a foam roller out or do some stretching. That will loosen them off and actually prevent something from occurring in the first place. Things like tennis balls can be really good for the same reason. You can roll your foot over them. That can be really good for things like plantar fasciitis, or, you know, you get really tight feet. A lot of people are suffering from that at the moment because they're running a lot. Tennis ball, jam jar, they can really help just rolling your foot over the sole of your foot, and that will self-massage it. Also sitting on a tennis ball to get into the glutes, that's a really good one as well. So they're all kind of other tips and things to do. Another really good exercise which will be really good for desk people is to kind of mobilize the upper back. And somebody had asked for exercises for a herniated disc. Are they on? Who was that?
Me, Lucy.
Yeah, so this will be really good for you as well. So
okay.
It's really hard with herniated discs, because again, without seeing it, you don't really know kind of what's happening. But if you can keep everything kind of mobilized above the area, that will prevent pressure being put on the lower back. So really good exercise for everyone that can do is literally give yourself a hug. So you're holding on both your shoulders, which kind of takes the mobility out of your shoulders. Pretend your elbows are a pen and do a figure of 8, right your leg. Just pretend you're writing with your elbows on the wall. And what you're actually doing is you're mobilizing the whole of your upper back. It's a really, really nice one. It doesn't feel like you're doing much, but it really gets into there.
I like that.
That you can do when you're sitting at a desk, you know, when you're sitting on a sofa. That the more mobile you can keep your upper back, the less pressure or load goes through your lower back, because you're kind of keeping them in sync and working together. A lot of people who are desk-based and sat, they get really stiff through their upper back, which actually causes pain down in the lower back. So that's a really nice one to do.
Thank you, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
so, yeah, I recommend that to a lot of people. That's a really, really nice exercise.
Hannah, just got a question on that same theme. What do you think about sort of hanging, like hanging from a bar or for lower back? Is that...
So for disc problems, you want to create space between your vertebrae. Okay. So you want to create the traction. So that's a really nice one. Again, listen to your body. If it's uncomfortable, stop.
Yeah.
I don't think it hurts, but it must be doing good. But yeah, that's a really, really nice one. You should feel that kind of relieves it quite nicely. And even people who are sat at a desk, if they've got somewhere to hang from, it will feel really nice. So
okay, thank you.
has anyone else got any other questions? Any other specific questions that I haven't really covered or anything?
So I know, Caroline, that's quite specific. Caroline was talking about something specific in the feet, but as you said, with plantar fasciitis, it's different things, but lots of people seem to have stuff in their feet. But I sometimes think that lots of people sometimes wear, like, this is different to Caroline's thing, but you know, sometimes they wear shoes that are too tight, and especially cycling. Everyone blames the running, but with plantar fasciitis or things to do with the feet, the cycling shoes have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, massively.
And I always think, okay, it's because I'm running, but and also, like, maybe now is a good thing that people are not going to the office, because sometimes work shoes or wearing really thick socks, and then they think it's because of the running, but actually maybe it was because the whole day, you know, wearing maybe thick socks, tight shoes. And so I have heard lots of people that I coach have been talking about stuff around their ankles and their feet. So anything about that?
Stretching out your calves and Achilles, a huge one, and stretching them properly. So you've obviously got the stretch with when you're popping your foot up against the wall to stretch out the calf. So I'll see if I can try and show you. Actually, hang on. So basically stretching out your foot against the wall. I'm going to see if I can do it. Okay, so remove the slippers. So I've got my foot up against the wall. So I'm stretching out my calf here. By bending your knee slightly, you're making it closer to your Achilles. So you want to stretch out your Achilles and your calf. Does that make sense? So they're two massive ones to do. And that will link to Caroline. So she's had the Huggins and stuff. So that's with the around the back of the heel. So calf and Achilles are huge, huge ones that are really not stretched enough, because that, if those muscles are tight, then the plantar fascia, the sole of your foot, will become uncomfortable. So you need to stretch them to relieve the pressure on the sole of your foot. So sole of the foot, tennis ball, jam jar, things like that rolling over will be really good. Uncomfortable, but help a lot. And then stretching out your calf and your Achilles muscles, which I think, Val, do you do in your exercise class?
I also do that, like the calf, and Achilles as well, as you say, bending for that.
So they'd be really good.
With some yoga, I was looking the other day at some videos of yoga, and they do quite a lot of stretches of the toes as well.
Yeah, that's a really good one. So they would be really good to kind of cover through your classes, show people. And even just like when you're sat at your desk, kind of ankle mobility. So moving your ankles around a lot will really help. So things like that. And now's actually the time to work on that kind of stuff. Now that we are at home, we've got the extra time. So working on the mobility and the flexibility to try and improve our bodies. So that's a really good thing.
Just Hannah, just on that, because my Achilles and calf are really tight, but it is my ankle mobility. So you just think just rotating it one way, rotating it the next.
Really good one. If you've got a football or something at home, when you're sat down, roll your foot around it. So it's not weight bearing, but you're having to, your foot is moving constantly around that area. The foam rolling again is a really good one, because you're then massaging that calf. Also things like putting a towel around your toe. So when you're sat down, putting a towel around your toe and kind of pulling your toe towards you can help stretch out the calf. A lot of ankle mobility is because of the calf muscles and everything that's really tight around it.
If you disconnect, guys, connect again. It will disconnect soon, but we're here. Just disconnect again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hannah.
That's all right, no worries. Is there anything else? It's still on at the moment. Oh, it's cut off now.
Yeah, can I just very briefly go back when you're talking about that hugging yourself exercise, and so you're saying that that's good for general kind of, particularly for office-based people, just to mobilize as well, and it's quite good because you can do that in the office without looking too crazy as well. So that's quite. Is there anything else like that, sort of general sort of mobilization, keeping things moving, that you could do without a gym?
So that's the main one, I'd say.
Okay.
Another one, just general stretching. So holding on to the side of your chair. So holding on, leaning away
Okay.
Locking your arm to stop it, and then looking over your opposite shoulder will help stretch the whole way through here.
Okay. All right.
That's a really nice stretch one, because where we're sat for, you're just moving. Even
Okay.
general things, especially if you're hunched over,
Yeah.
things like shoulder rolls, they're a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then rolling your shoulders back and then rolling them forwards.
Yeah.
Sitting
Right.
and letting your arm hang and dangle, so like a pendulum swing.